Now? Good. So I'm going to stand up because I'm not sure whether they kept the regulation panel for the end of the day because it's boring or because it's best for last, but I'll try not to make it boring on my part. So it's great to meet you. My name is Aviya, and what I do most of my days is keep track of crypto regulation because that's what my clients need, and I need my clients. So let's start. First, I'm going to talk about trends when it comes to ICOs, specifically for ICOs. So right now, the biggest legal trend that I think is worth talking about is the securitization of tokens. And we see a big movement towards securitization of tokens, mainly because regulators are waking up and witnessing the fact that many people are buying utility tokens, but I'm saying utility tokens because they have no utility yet, right? There's no operative platform behind them. So how are they going to utilize them in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? What it means is they're actually investing. They're buying these tokens to sell them at a later stage and make profit. So that really starts to feel like not an easy place to go to, the utility token framework, especially if you have no operative platform yet. But when you sell a security token, there are so many other things to realize besides what do I need to do to sell a security, which is the whole afterlife of the token. You have so many implications when you live your life as a security rather than living your life as a simple token. It's immense. It's reporting duties and the fact that you can't be traded on any exchange, just the exchanges that are licensed for selling securities. And many people don't realize that. And when they understand, when they come to me, my clients, and they understand the implications of living as a security, most of them or many of them are deterred. So that's something you need to remember. And that's now the easy or the difficulty of the licensing process, the registration process to be a security in many jurisdictions is high. That's why crowdfunding platforms, I think, companies will start getting crowdfunding licenses to enable other ICOs to sell security tokens through those platforms. For example, in Lithuania, the regulator has already stated that they're okay with the use of crowdfunding platforms for ICOs, and I think that's going to be a big trend. In the US, we see a lot of exemptions, applications for the crowdfunding exemption. Right now, the SEC are taking their time, so we need to see what's going on there, but it's definitely a hot thing. Okay. It's okay. Sorry. Now, ICO-specific regulation. ICO-specific regulation regulates mainly the tokens that are not securities, the tokens that are utility tokens. And what it means is you can get a stamp from a regulator that you're selling a utility token and that you're doing it right and that you're complying to all sorts of AML and transparency requirements. And that actually gives you a hechsher, right? Makes you kosher to work in many, many markets. Now, right now, we have Malta. The new Virtual Financial Assets Act is expected to come out very soon. We have Gibraltar with the new token regulation. We have Japan, which is a very strict act, very heavy. We have France that's contemplating a new ICO-specific regulation. Actually, that's interesting because France is going to be very, very easy and convenient because basically what's going to be there is just that you can choose whether to be regulated or not. And if you're not regulated, you need to put a disclaimer that you're not regulated, but you can still operate. So that's very interesting if that's the way it's going to be. There are rumors of Singapore trying to push new ICO-specific regulation because of the many ICOs that are being conducted there. Let's talk a little bit about crypto exchanges. We all like them, right? We all think they are the unicorns of our industry, but it's getting harder and harder to operate as a crypto exchange if you don't have a license. First of all, it's going to be harder for you to open a bank account, and eventually you're going to be exposed to many AML, anti-money laundering incidents. So crypto exchanges right now in most jurisdictions are not regarded as a special creature. Most regulators are saying, okay, you're a crypto exchange, we don't care. You're going to need the same license as if you are a normal exchange. And that's what's going on right now. So you have the US, where you have to get a money service business license in each and every state where you want to have clients from. You have Hong Kong, where you need to get an MSO, money service operator license. You have Lithuania, you can do that through an e-money institution license there. You have UK with the usual financial license, and Germany, Luxembourg, Switzerland, all of them don't have special crypto exchanges licenses. It's just the existing license. In Australia, AUSTRAC, which is sort of like the anti-money laundering authority of Australia, they issued new regulations for crypto exchanges with specific guidelines on anti-money laundering and KYC requirements. So that's interesting. And it's actually pretty easy to obtain. So if the Australian market interests you, that's something you should know about and start pursuing. It doesn't take long, it's not very complicated. The European Fifth AML Directive is going to include virtual currencies, it's going to include virtual currency exchanges, and it's going to make KYC on these exchanges over 150 euros transaction mandatory. So that's a big change. So what's hot? In my eyes, these are the jurisdictions that in my eyes are worth that you consider them, whether you're going to do an ICO, whether you're going to establish an exchange. UK, so the UK is an expensive jurisdiction, but a reputable one, one that has a regulator that, for a change, actually understands fintech and is actually willing and is innovating. They have the sandbox program, they have a whole team of people just waiting for your startup. I'm saying waiting, it's not really because it takes time, but waiting for you to come to them and say, okay, what do I need to do regulatory-wise? Gibraltar, you have the new token regulation. As I said, it's going to regulate all kinds of tokens. Gibraltar is a good jurisdiction just because it has 0% VAT. It will have the new license. It has already accumulated a reputation as a good crypto jurisdiction. You have Malta, the contending blockchain island. They're marketing themselves right now like that with the Virtual Financial Assets Act. Actually, the way to distinguish between security tokens and utility tokens has already been published by the MFSA. So it's worth reading because it sheds light on how a regulator actually advises you to classify your token and what questions you need to ask yourself to understand where you stand from a legal perspective. Austria. So Austria has no clear, crypto-specific regulation or anything like that. But I think that the Austrian regulator is a sensible one. They also have an innovative approach. There are not a lot of utility token ICOs are conducted from there because there's no strict statement by the regulator yet. So, and they have some good banks there that are open towards crypto activities that are conducted from Austria. So that's interesting. Estonia, of course, many of you probably know, it's a hot jurisdiction for everything that has to do with crypto. They have the virtual currency exchange license. And it's a good jurisdiction. It's within the EU. It's relatively cheap, but you need to consider banks there are very problematic. The fact that you have a license If you don't have any actual business ties to Estonia, no actual office there, you're not going to be able to open a bank account there. So just so you know. France, I spoke about that. Lithuania. In Lithuania, you have the e-money institution license. It's not an easy license to obtain. It requires a 350,000 euros capital. But if you separate your crypto activity from your fiat activity, meaning you're not doing both of them within the same license, then basically the regulator is, the central bank is okay with you conducting crypto activities with a special designated EMI license. Singapore. So the MAS, the financial regulator in Singapore, is very advanced, is very progressive, but banks are basically impossible in Singapore. I know it's a very popular ICO jurisdiction, but it's interesting. It has good reputation, but you need to consider the banks issue. Philippines, the special economic zone in the Philippines has a new license now, actually regulating all kinds of crypto activities. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're a miner, there are a lot of mining farms in the Philippines, but if you're a miner, if you're a crypto exchange, if you're an ICO, you can go for that sort of license, and you know, if you want sort of an offshore or Asian low-level license, let's say. Cayman Islands, it's a good offshore jurisdiction. If you want to go offshore and you don't want to spend the money and resources on, you know, regulation or expensive European jurisdictions, Cayman is good because it's a financial center. It has relatively good reputation, and a lot is going on there in terms of offshore crypto. So, do I have time for contemplations, or, yeah? Okay. So, some of my personal opinions. This will not be in line with what Bobby Lee said in the morning, but I think we should embrace regulation. I think regulation is good for our market. We do not want to be branded as crooks, as scammers, as fraudulent, opportunistic companies that are just trying to make their way into the venture capital world through ICOs. We don't want that. We want to be in order, we want to be organized, and I think regulation improves market stability, it improves our reputation, it improves the industry because it clears out the bad apples. And I think that with time, regulation is going to be a very good thing for cryptocurrency prices, because regulation means that the big actors can come and play. The institutional, the funds, all the money that matters can participate, and that's a very big plus. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Aviya. Moving on to one of the jurisdictions which were not on the list, I wonder why, but which did everything very swiftly and persuasively. Dmitry, if you could tell us more about the recent experience in our neighbor Belarus.